Hello everyone! Today I'm going to compare and contrast prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So the first thing I want you to remember is that these cells are similar, but yet there are some differences. So first, let's start with prokaryotes. These organisms are rather simple as they are unicellular in general and generally smaller than eukaryotes. They consist of bacteria and archaea. In archaea, they mostly live in extreme environments like this hot spring. In fact, unlike eukaryotes, the organelles aren't membrane-bound, and there is no nucleus. Instead, a circular-like single chromosome is located in the nucleoid within the cytoplasm. Thus, the DNA is free-floating. I also want to let you know that the cytoplasm regulates nutrient uptake and exerts waste. So overall, prokaryotic cells lack compartmentalization. Now let's move on to eukaryotes. These are fairly complex organisms. Just like prokaryotes, they can be single-celled, like yeast, a fungi, which is found in most of your favorite foods like bread and pizza. And the picture to the right is activated yeast, a common ingredient found in those two foods. And they can also be protists, like algae, for example. Additionally, they can be multicellular, which includes things like plants, other fungi, and animals, like this giraffe eating leaves, which is another eukaryote, and this person eating a salad, another eukaryote, as stated before. It's important to note that all eukaryotes don't have the same organelles. For example, plant cells have chloroplasts, and this is where photosynthesis occurs, and this happens when light is converted into energy. Fun fact, chlorophyll is what makes plants green, and it's located inside the chloroplast. So now let's discuss the structure. Eukaryotic cells have an internal membrane that encloses the membrane-bound organelles. For example, a membrane composed of lipids and proteins is called a nucleus, and it's also where most of the genetic material is located. Also, DNA is composed of chromosomes, and it stores information to synthesize proteins. Another fun fact, animal cells are generally circular, whereas plant cells are generally rectangular. And these cells also contain ribosomes, just as prokaryotic cells, as it can be seen in this picture. All in all, unlike prokaryotic cells, eukaryotic cells contain a cell nucleus and lots of organelles. Let's discuss reproduction next. So they both use cell division to reproduce. In particular, cell division requires duplication and distribution of chromosomes. In essence, the presence of DNA is very important to transmit genetic material. For prokaryotes or bacteria, this process is relatively simple, as it involves asexual reproduction by means of binary fission. So I broke this down into 3 simple steps. So first, bacteria duplicates the mother cell to produce 2 identical copies, and next, the cell then forms a septum to segregate. So think of your nose. The septum is what separates your left and right nostrils. Finally, in step 3, the cell gives a copy of this genetic material to each daughter cell. Considering the fact that this process is so easy, it's also the reason why prokaryotic cells are able to divide and reproduce so rapidly. And so as far as eukaryotic cells, the process is intricate, of course, as they are complex organisms as stated before. Essentially, a mother cell needs to produce 2 daughter cells with the same number and type of chromosomes, as it can be seen in the cell cycle. In this picture, the daughter cells have the same number of chromosomes as the mother if you divide them by 2. The cell cycle, it consists of 4 phases. The first 3 are interphase phases, G1, S, and G2. First, the G1 phase happens when a cell reaches the restriction point and prepares to divide, and is also known as the growth stage. The S phase synthesizes genetic material, thus chromosomes are replicated and sister chromatids are formed. And the G2 phase gathers materials needed for nuclear and cell division. And the final stage, the M phase, results in mitosis. And this is where replicated chromosomes are distributed by dividing a cell into 2, as you can see in this picture. Finally, the cell cycle will be completed. It should also be noted that this occurs in somatic cells, or cells that aren't involved in sexual reproduction, like nerve and skin cells. In short, eukaryotic reproduction is necessary to produce genetically different offspring. And that's the conclusion of this video. So we now know the differences between eukaryotes and prokaryotes. and the basic means of reproduction. Thank you for watching.